In my experience, life is a continuing series of questions you don't have the answers to. Or at least the ones you wish you had figured out ahead of time. Where the batteries are, how many inches are in a meter, how to sew buttons onto a jacket, and more intimately involving my current predicament, how to remove duct tape from your mouth without the use of your hands. I've reached the conclusion that the facial gestures indicating fear and surprise, faces I cannot ever remember making, nor know how to, seem to loosen the adhesive most effectively, though it makes me think of the implications of universal emotional expression. If humans physically express emotions in the same way, then we must all feel the same way. The same happiness, love, disgust, hate. This means we're all in touch with each other in a way that we do not realize. Does this mean we're all the same if we feel the same? Well, I don't really follow all that. Emotion is simply a neurological reaction to external stimuli. A scientific explanation. It separates us all. While I don't often think about death, I find recently my thoughts have been bouncing to it quite regularly. Perhaps death is something people aren't used to. I mean, how could they be? I find it curious that we were only faced with two options, life or death. Is that all? Or are there other options to explore? I'm not necessarily speaking of any afterlife, a heaven, or hell. I simply mean I just don't know. Perhaps there is another option beyond death, besides death. In any event, I don't spend a considerable amount of time on the topic. In fact, I don't entirely believe in death. To me, dying is something that happens to other people. Something like a disease on the far corner of the globe. Something that doesn't particularly concern me. Why should it? How do I know I'll die? I can prove others can die. But why does that apply to me specifically? I never understood basements. People complain they only have a 1 or 2 bedroom home, but they neglect the fact that they have a basement, which is perfectly good for storing Christmas decorations, old clothes, and unused furniture, but not good enough to amount to a real room. The glorified closet could easily be turned into a cozy living area, but somewhere it is said that a basement is nothing more than a damp, gross, bug-infested mildew farm, and they seem to be alright with that. All in all, this is a pretty decent basement. You can learn more about life by listening, not saying a single word, than you ever will asking questions. No question you will ever ask will give you the answer you are looking for. The answer is right in front of you. You just have to speak up. Of all that is bad and worse, getting put into situations against your will may possibly be the worst thing in the world. Worse than filling out all that unnecessary paperwork at the doctor's office. Besides, I'm not allergic to anything except for dust and mold, and now when it matters, I don't have any little boxes to check off to say that I am. Completely insincere conversation. How are you? How's the family? How's work been? These are just empty words, false promises. No one cares or wants to know. Common courtesy has its common time and place, and I'm never there. If you really want to say hi to Kyle, why don't you just tell him yourself, instead of treating me like a convenient messenger in an inconvenient circumstance? Of all situations, funerals are the worst, most uncomfortable, insincere of them all. Sorry for your loss. What is that? What does that mean? People should say vivre sa vie, which is French for one's better off this way. When I die, I don't want anyone to attend my funeral. They'd probably just ask me how Kyle's been. On the notion of fate, I am one who believes that I control my own fate, if such an idea exists. My life is in my own hands. The reason I am where I am, where I was, where I'm going to be, is all my own doing. To believe your life is mapped out for you is an absurd thought. It's like the weather. Sure, it'd be nice to know what tomorrow will be like, but inevitably the weather will come as it is, and you'll just have to make do. Will my life change if I believe I am exactly where I should be at this exact moment? Well, if you believe in that sort of nonsense, it doesn't really matter, does it? Can I change the future that lies ahead of me? Sure. What is stopping me? Have I the ability to control my ultimate death? In fact, I believe I do. But as I mentioned before, I don't really give such things a considerable amount of thought.